Everybody, today's the Monday, the 19th of January. It is about 3 in the morning. I have a few hours before I have to go to dialysis this morning. Monday's my first day. I count Mondays like my first day of the week because I'm sort of planning my days according to starts with my dialysis treatment on Monday and finishes with my dialysis treatment on Friday. So I have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have dialysis every week. Now it's been 5 weeks starting today. I was here in the hospital. Last first day in the hospital I spent was on the 22nd of December. And then the 23rd was the first day I came home. And so it's been 5 weeks now. Today is starting the 5th week since I've been back home from the hospital. So I started in the hospital to plan a short-term, long-term, and midterm goals. So I want to talk about goal setting today. Your short-term goals are things you directly can control. So my refrigerator broke down last week, or is on the fritz, I'll say. It hasn't broken down yet, but it's on the fritz. So that was not something I could control in that day. It broke down. It's something I have to put in a work order with my landlord and all these different procedures I have to do. It's been a long time since I've been here. I've had a new landlord, new ownership has taken control of my apartment. So these are things I could not deal with immediately when I first got back. But now that I've been here nearly a month, I can start to look to the future and things that I'll have to do routinely, things I need to change, and new habits I need to form. And so long term, that's what you think about. Habits, things you need to change, and new habits you need to form. Short term is what can I do right now, this instant? What do I have control of? And then your midterms are things that takes a little time to resolve. But you gotta solve, and you can't ignore. But you have to address at some point to get it done. So my refrigerator on the fritz, that requires my attention, but I just learned about it a few days ago, and I couldn't deal with it right then. On the other hand, I just went to the doctor. I had an emergency because I wasn't able to urinate for 24 hours, so I went to the doctor, got some medication for it, but then I couldn't fill the prescription right away because the pharmacy at the hospital was not open on the weekend. So I have to wait today to get that fulfilled. So there's things you have to put off, things you can do now, and things you can leave for later. But it's all part of the same process. You have to have a timetable for things, for them to get done, or they won't be done at all. So that's where you have to continually work on your personal habits. What things can I do to habits I need to change? What new habits do I need to employ? So now I've been back about a month, starting the 5th week. Today being the start of the 5th week. I can start thinking more long term what I want to accomplish and goals I wanting to set. So I usually get up a little bit well before I have to leave on the shuttle for dialysis. I got dialysis now early in the mornings. It's a top priority because it's where I go to get well, where I go to work on my health. and where I go for planning and practicing um, new and developing new health, wealth, and prosperity habits. When you find yourself in trouble, it doesn't matter really how you got there. So there's no point in blaming yourself or questioning yourself. It's just, what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do about it? You know, and so you have to, number one, do things in a way that builds your confidence. Confidence is an essential part of growth. If you don't have confidence, you're simply dead in the water. You have to have some confidence within yourself. And I believe that confidence really comes from God. You have confidence in something greater than yourself. I mean, if you really base your confidence solely on yourself, you're going to be disappointed most of the time, because you have to make changes all of the time. You have to adjust your courses in order to change your outcomes. And so you're constantly having to make changes and then measuring your actions against your outcomes. See how close or nearly you're able to complete your tasks and where you're able to go to accomplish more. And so when the Bible says, Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, it's because God is the source of what you would find when you get to the light at the end of the tunnel. And this is sort of our makeup. What we seek, what we want is not always in alignment with who we are. We have to constantly train ourselves, adjust our thinking to new forms of practices. So now I'm back home trying to build my business long term. I want to do things differently than I have done business before. Have a more of a progressive approach, I'd call it. You know, try to look for changes that I can make to my teaching practice that will help to improve not only my students' experience of their lessons, but my own experience of teaching as well. So, like I said, when I was in the hospital, I had nothing but time to think. And that was torturous as well as helpful in some ways, because then I really had to think hard about my life and what I wanted to change about my life. And so I want to have more, be more at rest with situations and problems, not be panicked, not be anxious, not be discouraged, you know, and persevere through thick and thin. And so that's how I've set my mind when I'm thinking of my short, long-term, and midterm goals. Now today I've been drinking carrot juice and things like that to stay hydrated. It's very important. I've been eating lean protein foods and simple meals just to stay on top of things. And keeping things simple helps with maintaining maintenance and as well. Okay, So, um, so when I go to the dialysis, I'm basically sitting in a chair for 3.5 hours. So that again is another time I can sit. I'm sitting and just mostly thinking, because you can't move around when you're in a dialysis chair. You can't get up once they start the machine. They have to continually monitor you, and you have to stay reasonably still for them to do that. And so again, you just sort of just have time to think and not to do much else. So I'm looking forward to my dialysis treatment so I can do my homework, my planning. Sometimes I have to do research. I have to make contacts. I have a doctor's appointment this Thursday. I have to do some things to confirm that and my transportation and everything. So at the first of the week here on my dialysis day, I have to make sure that I have transportation for the end of the week, and for doctor's appointments, I try to only have one doctor's appointment each week, just to be able to not go crazy. I don't like the feeling of going to the doctors. After a while, it feels like I'm back in hospital. If I'm going to the doctors every day, it doesn't feel normal to me. I gotta live my life sometime. And so that's the general focus of my attention. You gotta live, and live your life, not someone else's life. Live your life to the fullest, and you'll have the abundance is so that you have more to offer and to share with others. So, so everything's good. I got, I'm making new plans, starting some of my long-term plans this week. And want to wait and see what they are, what things I'm going to start on. That I will sort of, my long-term plans are measured by month. My midterm plans are measured by weeks. And my short-term plans are measured in days. So when Christ says, take no thought for tomorrow, he talks about the daily bread. He's talking about your short-term commitments, short-term plans. You make these plans in the short run, but it's sort of like sowing a seed. You got to sow the seed, but the more you sow each day, then on the long run, you'll have more abundance. You'll have more that will be left will come after you. That'll be after you. What a lot of people don't realize is that many of the greatest accomplishments in life came that people have done came after death. Christ wasn't really known in the world until about 100 years after his death. People started to notice him and his life, and started to think about what his life was represent. And so Christ, as we know, Christ was not. It took a long time for that to become part of our traditions and our religious practice. Soren Kierkegaard, great philosopher, he died in obscurity, and it was 100 years before he was just rediscovered, and then became what is now called the father of all modern philosophy. And And so many great accomplishments are never actually fully recognized until after a person's passing on. Well, why is that? Well, because all the seeds you sow in your life continue to grow well past your life time on earth. If you sow a lot, you'll reap a lot, but the things you reap are meant to be shared and to be expressed well beyond your life. You will find your life will become fruitful, and then people will be able to draw on those things that you sowed. Will then be what others will is what you ultimately will reap. And so if you do things with a attitude of reward in the short term, you're not going to get far. And but you work towards daily bread. Through the daily bread, start planting seeds by applying things in your life today that will bear fruit in your life in tomorrow. Then you'll start to see your life will gradually and continually be grow and be transformed into a life that you can share with other people. So the daily bread is describing, in the Christian tradition, it's describing the body of Christ and communion and how we have communion through Christ's sacrifice. We're able to have communion with each other, be able to communicate with each other. That's what communion means. And through a better relationship or communion that we have now may have now with God. So these are the things that Christ left us, and inheritance of what Christ called the gospel, the good news, is that we now have an advocate with God through the Father through the Son, and so we see these dynamics that was not so easy to identify or tell when Christ was on earth and had his ministry on earth and was serving men at the time. So you call it what you will, posterity. Living for posterity, because people will get a benefit, whatever you do, but they'll never quite get the same benefit as the life you live. The life you actually lead is the greater value, ultimately, of what we're here for. We're here for a purpose, a plan, but it's that for a plan that will serve each other, and it's not only ourselves. So that's what true prosperity is. You people will inherit the benefits of your fruits of your life, your labor, and that's be able to receive is as blessed as to give. And so wanting to, as Christians say, to live, be a blessing to other people, starts with your own participation or partaking of the daily bread, and just doing the things that are sufficient for each day of your life, and finding joy and contentment in those things that are pleasing, doing those things that are pleasing to God, and ultimately would be serving yourself. So I'm going to keep this short. I'm just going to dialysis. I've got a new caregivers sometimes on Mondays. So this is always each week, as I start a new week, is always an adventure. There's always new variables that kind of come into the picture. And so we have to adapt to those things, those changes. So, okay, so I'm doing better. I'm getting a lot of exercise. I find the more exercise I do, the less fatigue I have. Fatigue is a primary symptom I struggle with, where I get tired and fatigued. When I'm fatigued, my thoughts get cloudy. It's difficult for me to articulate my thoughts as well. When I'm tired, I've been sleeping more, a lot more lately. That kind of makes me tired when I get up. I feel kind of tired in the mornings, but I don't need to sleep and naps or intermittently. I don't have to. I necessarily need more rest. I just become more active, and that helps me to feel better in the course of the day. Okay, so we'll talk to you later. I love everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.